Let us begin with the current updates on COVID-19 cases. At the global level, the current COVID-19 confirmed cases are 4,073,269 cases, with 278,901 deaths and 1,417,286 recoveries. In Africa, the confirmed cases are 57,870, with 2,154 deaths and 19,363 recoveries. In Nigeria, the current cases are 3,912, with 117 deaths and 679 recoveries. We now give you a review of developments and stories that occurred last week. After 10 months of consistent decline, the country's foreign reserves returned to a growth path, gaining $449.5 million in 1 week. Figures from the Central Bank of Nigeria have revealed. According to the CBN, the reserves rose from $33.44 billion in April, ending to $33.89 billion on May 5, 2020. The reserve has slipped into a decline after hitting a high of $45.17 billion on June 11, 2019, losing $11 billion at $33.89 billion as of April 28, 2020. After 10 months of consistent decline, this really affected the reserves of the central bank. During the last Monetary Policy Committee meeting of the banking sector, the CBN Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, said the committee noted that the weakened revenue position of the federal government arising from the sharp drop in oil prices. He reiterated the need for the government to urgently reduce reliance on oil revenue by gradually diversifying the economy and improving tax collection. Also during the week, Virgin Atlantic announced it will cut over 3,000 jobs, around a third of staff, as the coronavirus pandemic grounds planes worldwide. The British carrier, part owned by tycoon Richard Branson, announced during the week. With the virus having decimated international air travel over the past 2 months, Virgin said it was obliged to make the cuts to preserve its financial future, adding it was in talks with the UK government about potential support. In order for the airline to emerge from the crisis, regrettably, it must reduce the number of people employed, and today the company is announcing a planned reduction of 3,150 jobs across all functions, a Virgin Atlantic statement said this week, Monday. In the Middle East, ride-hailing firm Careem said about slashing nearly a third of its workforce due to the severe economic impacts of the coronavirus pandemic, its CEO said. Starting during the week, 536 of the colleagues who made up 31% of Careem left the operations. Mudassar Sheikha said in a statement he released during the week on Monday. According to him, our business is down by more than 80% and the recovery timeline is alarmingly unknown. Dubai-based Careem, acquired by Uber last year for $3.1 billion, is the Middle East's biggest technology transaction. It operates taxi-hailing apps in 14 countries across the Middle East and North Africa. World leaders during the week promised $8 billion for the fight against coronavirus pandemic. European Commission head Ursula von der Leyen said during a meeting held this week, Monday. In the space of just few hours, we have collectively pledged 7.4 billion euros, about $8.07 billion for vaccine, diagnostics and treatment against COVID. Also during the week, Chancellor Angela Merkel said that Germany will contribute 525 million euros, which is also translated to $535.51 million, to a global funding raise push to search for vaccines and for a treatment for novel coronavirus. According to her, we will contribute 525 million euros. We will contribute $525 million. I take that again. We will contribute 525 million euros directly to this pledging conference, and we will also continue our obligations for global health overall with about 1.3 billion euros. In Nigeria during the week, the National Bureau of Statistics released a report that showed 40.1% of total populations in the country were classified as poor. This also translates to 82.9 million Nigerians. In other words, on average, 4 out of 10 individuals in Nigeria has real per capita expenditure below 137,430 naira per year. This translates to the population that are poor, classified by national standards. According to the NBS, it is important to note that this number excludes the state of Borno in the survey carried out during the period of 2018 to 2019, which include households. The sample was not representative of the whole state of Borno, since only households from accessible, safe-to-visit areas were interviewed. Thus, the Borno sample is considered non-random and non-representative. From the analysis, the top 3 states with a high poverty rate include Jigawa State 87.02%, Adamawa State 75.41%, and Zamfara State 73.98%. The top 3 states with the lowest poverty rates are Lagos 4.50%, Delta 6.02%, and Osun State 8.52%. During the week, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, announced that President Muhammadu Buhari approved a blanket waiver of import duties for medical equipment and supplies as part of the federal government's efforts to strengthen the health infrastructure in response to COVID-19 pandemic. In addition to the import waiver, President Muhammadu Buhari directed the Nigerian Customs to implement expedited clearing of all imported healthcare equipment and medical pharmaceutical supplies. Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, in a webinar during the week, said the Nigerian government is also amending its 2020 budget to assume an oil price of $20 per barrel. Also during the week, a special meeting of the Bankers Committee with the Central Bank of Nigeria convened on Sunday, May 2nd, met to review the implications of the COVID-19 pandemic on the Nigerian banking industry. The committee particularly deliberated on the issue of the operating cost of banks in view of the disruptions emanating from the global economic difficulties and decided as follows. In order to help minimize and mitigate the negative impact of COVID-19 pandemic on families and livelihoods, no bank in Nigeria shall entrench or lay off any staff of any cadre, including full-time and part-time. To give effect to the above measure, the express approval of the Central Bank of Nigeria shall be required in the event that it becomes absolutely necessary to lay off any such staff. The Central Bank of Nigeria solicited the support of all in a collective effort to weather through the economic challenges occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic. Also in the week, the European Union made a forecast that the Eurozone economy will contract by a staggering 7.7% in 2020, warning the wreckage from the coronavirus pandemic could endanger the single currency. Calling it a recession of historic proportions, the EU executive said the 19-member single currency zone will rebound by 6.3% in 2021, but in a recovery that will be felt unevenly across the continent. The European Commission insisted that without some form of common rescue plan, the EU project and the single currency would be ripped apart. Such divergence poses a threat to the single market and the euro area, yet it can be mitigated through decisive joint European action, Economic Affairs Commissioner Paolo Gentiloni said. Also in the week, the U.S. recorded its huge loss of 20.5 million jobs in April, the steepest plunge in payrolls since the Great Depression of the 1930s, and the starkest sign yet of how the novel coronavirus pandemic is battering the world's biggest economy. And those are the major highlights and stories we had during the week. You can continue to join our website, www.proshareng.com, to get more updates from our news stories and videos. In this period, ProShare, Nigeria's leading information hub, has packaged for you a platform that gives you credible and reliable market data and analysis of the impact of COVID-19 on the global and Nigerian economy. Log on to www.proshareng.com/COVID-19 and you get all those details you require. You can also follow our social media platforms showing on the screen for further updates on our market reports. Till we come your way again, thank you for watching, have a nice day, and stay safe.